Welcome to the second episode of Yafqahoo Qawlee. I'm Dr. Areej Khataybeh, psychologist and founder of Sparkback. Today, I want to explore a topic that sits quietly beneath the surface of many women's lives. It's something I see often in my clinical work, and I hear in countless conversations with women who carry far more than they really show. It begins with a simple phrase, one that slips out of our mouths almost automatically, which is, I'm fine. Those two words might mean many things. They might reflect genuine stability, or they might be a shield, a way to move through the moment without revealing the weight we are really carrying. But there is a third possibility, and it's the one that I want to focus on today. In certain cases, I'm fine is not an expression of well-being, but a sign that a woman has quietly adapted to circumstances that no longer supports her emotional health. Adaptation is subtle, quiet, gradual, and it can be so deeply woven into our day-to-day lives to the extent that we stop noticing it altogether. Today, I want to help you recognize the difference between being fine and being accustomed to something that is slowly draining you. In psychology, adaptation refers to the mind's ability to adjust to stresses, environment, or social and emotional demands. It's a protective mechanism, a way the brain helps us function when life becomes overwhelming or unpredictable. But adaptation is not always a sign of resilience. Sometimes it's a sign of emotional fatigue, or a sign of long-term coping, or even a sign that a woman has been carrying more than her nervous system was designed to hold. Women develop adaptive patterns early in life. Many are taught, directly or indirectly, to prioritize harmony, to avoid conflict, to absorb emotional tension, and to maintain stability for the sake of others. Over time, those expectations shape how they respond to stresses. Adaptation becomes a default mode, not because it's healthy, but because it feels familiar. When I sit with women in my office, I often notice a common thread. They have learned to adjust themselves long before they've learned to ask for what they need. This tendency of adapting so deeply comes from many places. From cultural conditioning, where women are often raised to be accommodating, patient, and emotionally available. These traits are valuable, but they can lead also to chronic self-suppression. Many women as well grew up in environments where they become the emotional stabilizers for the members of the family, the ones who soothe, mediate, or absorb tension. In romantic or familial relationships, women may take the role of the caretaker, even when it costs them their own emotional well-being. Professional environments as well often reward women for being agreeable, flexible, and self-sacrificing. So we see women frequently responsible for maintaining peace even when the situation is not theirs to fix. These influences shape how women respond to discomfort. Instead of confronting it, many learn to adjust around it, not because they lack strength, but because they have been trained to survive through accommodation. Here's a tricky question. How adaptation disguises itself? Adaptation rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive with a clear message or even warn you that you are drifting away from yourself. Instead, it blends in your routine. You may notice that you have stopped reacting to things that once bothered you, not because they have improved, but because you have grown accustomed to them. You may find yourself moving through your day with a sense of emotional distance, functioning but not fully engaged. You may catch yourself avoiding certain thoughts, not out of denial, but because you don't have the energy to unpack them. You may realize that your standards have quietly shifted. What once felt unacceptable now feels normal, simply because you have lived without it long enough. Adaptation is not loud, it's not dramatic. It's a slow, steady drift away from your emotional center. When a woman says, "I'm fine," she may be expressing one of several psychological states. She doesn't have the capacity to explain what she's feeling, so she has chosen the simplest response. Or opening up may feel risky, especially if she fears being misunderstood or dismissed. She may worry that expressing her true feelings will disrupt the balance in her relationships or environment. She has learned over time that her emotions are less important than the comfort of others. She has adjusted so deeply to her circumstances that she no longer recognizes her own discomfort. In clinical terms, this is known as emotional habituation, the process by which repeated exposure to a stressor reduces the emotional response to it. In everyday language, it means this: you have lived with something for so long that you have stopped noticing its impact. Let's explore early signs that you have adapted instead of healed. Adaptation often shows up in subtle ways. Here are some early indicators expressed in a smooth and non repetitive style. You may notice that your reactions have become muted. Situations that once stirred emotions now pass without much internal movement. You might feel a sense of detachment, as though you are observing your life rather than practicing in it. There may be moments when you sense a quiet heaviness, not intense enough to call it distress, but persistent enough to feel like something is missing. You may find yourself avoiding introspection not because you are uninterested, but because you are unsure what you will uncover. Your energy may fluctuate in ways that don't match your physical activity, a sign that your emotional world is carrying weight your body hasn't named yet. You might notice that you have stopped expecting reciprocity, support, or understanding from others because you have grown used to functioning without it. Not that you don't want it. These signs are not failures, they are signals, gentle reminders from your mind that something inside you needs attention. Now, I will share with you one of the most important distinctions I teach my clients, which is the difference between emotional adjustment and emotional health. These two states can look similar from the outside, but internally they feel very different. Adaptation often creates a sense of neutrality. You function, you complete your responsibilities, and you move through your day without major disruption. But beneath that surface, there might be a quiet sense of depletion, a subtle awareness that you are operating below your emotional capacity. Well being, on the other hand, carries a sense of internal alignment. It doesn't mean life is perfect or free of stress, but it does mean your emotional responses match your reality. You feel connected to yourself, you recognize your needs, you experience moments of ease even in the presence of challenges. Adaptation narrows your emotional range, while well being expands it. Adaptation keeps you stable. On the other hand, well being keeps you alive inside. Adaptation helps you endure, while well being helps you grow. When a woman is truly fine, there is a sense of coherence in her inner world. Her thoughts, emotions, behavior move in the same direction. She doesn't have to silence part of herself to maintain balance. You might think how adaptation becomes a long term pattern. Many women don't realize how deeply they have adapted until something disrupted the pattern. A moment of unexpected emotion, a conversation that touches a sensitive place, or a situation that demands more than the adjusted version of themselves can provide. Long term adaptation often develops in 5 stages. Stage 1, which is initial adjustment. You, at that time, make small compromises to manage a situation. These adjustments feel temporary and manageable. Stage 2, emotional numbing, where your reactions become muted. You stop expecting change and you begin to accept discomfort as part of your routine. Whereby stage 3, identity shift. Your sense of self becomes less defined. You may struggle to articulate what you want, what you enjoy, or what you need. Stage 4, functional survival mode. You continue to meet your responsibilities, but your internal world feels distant or quiet. You are present physically, but emotionally, you are operating on minimal energy. Last stage, which is stage 5, internal disconnection. You no longer recognize the difference between coping and living. I'm fine becomes a default response, not a reflection of your truth. This progression is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your mind has been protecting you for a long time. But protection is not the same as healing. So, moving from survival to emotional clarity. Survival mode is efficient, but it's not sustainable. It keeps you functioning, but it doesn't allow you to thrive. Emotional clarity begins when you start noticing the small signals your mind has been sending you. The moments of heaviness, the quiet dissatisfaction, the subtle longing for something more aligned with who you are. Here are what emotional clarity looks like in real life. You begin to recognize when you are suppressing your feelings. You notice when your body tenses in response to certain situations. You become aware of the moments when you silence yourself. You start questioning patterns once you accepted without thought. You feel a gentle pull towards authenticity, even if you are unsure how to express it. Clarity is not dramatic, it's not loud, and it's a gradual return to yourself. Now, let's explore your internal world with honesty and depth. I will give you questions to help you speak your mind up. Answer slowly. You might pause the audio between the questions. Let your mind speak without interruptions. What emotions have I been avoiding because they feel too heavy to acknowledge? In what ways I have adjusted myself to meet the expectations of others? What did I once enjoy that no longer feels accessible to me? What conversations I have postponed out of fear of conflict? What needs have I silenced because I believed they were inconvenient? What would life look like if I honored my emotional needs constantly? What would it feel like to live a life where I'm fine is no longer a mask? These questions are meant to open doors, gently, gradually, respectfully. If you felt like sharing your answers with me to give you my perspective, please contact me at hello@sparkback.com. Before we end today's episode, I want to leave you with this. You are not meant to live in a state of quiet endurance. You are not meant to shrink yourself to maintain stability. Your emotional world deserves attention. Your inner voice deserves space. Make your well being your top priority. If I'm fine has become your shield, I hope today's conversation helps you recognize the strength beneath that shield, the part of you that is ready for clarity, connection, and truth. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of your mind, your heart, and the parts of you that have been quiet for too long. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to receive the new episodes as soon as they are released.